First quote is, "The best way to make change in this country is with a pocket full of money." So the main thing to take away from this quote is that there's three ways to access a large pool of cash. One is wealth, another is a line of credit, and the third is a pool of cash. By wealth, I mean maybe you already own a home or a business of some sort and you're able to sell that asset for capital, or you may be able to leverage against the value of that asset in order to borrow capital from another person or company. So for instance, if I own a $100,000 house, I may be able to borrow $20,000 from somebody because they know if I can't pay it back, they can always come for $20,000 out of the house. When I say a line of credit, that your credit score is what you typically would think of, but your credit score is based on your ability to repay back, loans that you had in the past, and obviously how much income you make now. So if you do have a strong line of credit behind you, whether that's coming from a bank using your credit score or accredited investors that you know through business, that's another route of accessing a large pool of cash. And by a cash pool, I specifically mean you and maybe other people you know putting your money together to make investments that benefit the rest of you guys. Not just handling money and paying bills, but specifically investments that everybody can benefit from. The last thing that I pretty much wrap this point up with is the best way to secure wealth and accrue more wealth is to use a combination of all three. So you and other people in your community should be pooling together your money, pooling together your wealth, and pooling together your lines of credit, and that will allow you guys to be self-sufficient as opposed to depending on outsiders to come fund the investments in your neighborhood. The second quote is ownership over wages. The story behind this quote is about when I first started my job as a construction inspector after college. I was making like $28 an hour, and like most college students, you would think that's like really good money coming out of school. But after I had some time into the industry and all of that, I understood, or I found out rather, that the company that I was working for was charging almost double what they were paying me for my services. So it got me to thinking, if I owned that company myself and was on that state contract, I'd literally be taking in double of what I'm making just from owning the business that I'm working for, as opposed to working for somebody else who I've literally never met. So after doing my homework, I realized going from $28 an hour to the $30 an hour that they were trying to give me a raise for didn't even make me feel any better, because I knew at some point I was going to need to take matters into my own hands, start my own business, and get into those state contracts where now I'm able to charge $60 and $70 an hour for the same service, whether I'm the one working the project or not. After that day, I started researching how to bid on city, state, and federal contracts. And as a result, I was able to register Castleberry Consulting as an official vendor in New York City and New York State. Now we're able to provide consulting services to the New York State Department of Transportation. The third quote is investments over savings. The story behind that goes back to when me and my wife moved out of our parents' home into our own apartment. We saved up around $6,000 and put down a down payment to move into the house of a little under $5,000. So we had $1,100 that we put into a savings account that was supposed to be high yield. I probably should have did the calculations on what 0.03% means after a year, but we decided we'd leave it in there for a year and see what happens. Long story short, 1 year later, that $1,100 earned a $3 profit. Now, in my head, the first thing I thought was, number one, $3 is not a lot of money. Second off, if I had $1,000 in my hand today, I could definitely turn that into more of a profit than $3 in a year. So what we started doing was investing into the stock market. And that first year, we were able to turn a 14% profit. And then just doing the math there, it would have took hundreds of years to go from a 0.03% profit to that 14% profit that we had. So after that, we decided to take that money out of there, and we knew that we would never use a commercial savings account again. So the fourth quote that I'll give to you guys is, naysayers just show you how to promote your products. When I first started Castleberry Consulting, I had a lot of naysayers in my community, 3 specifically that really stuck with me. One was an ex-teacher of mine who didn't believe that I could teach students from my own community entrepreneurship and investing. Second was a lawyer from New York City, the Bronx specifically, who thought that it was like a gimmick that I could teach people in low-income neighborhoods how to start a business and learn about investing, specifically so they could teach their children how to do the same thing. And the youth mentor did everything he could to criticize my efforts to encourage entrepreneurship and investing amongst our youth. He went out of his way and insisted that millennials were terrible business owners and cut corners, which stopped us from expanding and hitting our potential. I couldn't see what he meant, but all in all, I was able to figure out how I could use their negativity to help promote and pitch upcoming Castleberry Consulting products. So now I'm able to teach investment and entrepreneurship seminars in schools using the pitches based upon their negativity. I'm able to sell my Money Moves Workshop collection to aspiring entrepreneurs and investors using their negativity. And I'm also able to teach millennials how to become better consultants and business owners, again, using in my pitch their negativity. The fifth quote is, being a hustler is not about what you say or do, but how you adapt. The story behind this one, I talk about the difference between Toys R Us and Amazon, and also another difference between Blockbuster and Netflix. How Toys R Us got pretty much complacent in their place in being the #1 toy vendors in America and allowed Amazon to use e-commerce to take over that void. And then not only did that same thing happen between Blockbuster and Netflix, but Netflix was able to keep that hustle mentality going afterwards and go from, instead of just e-commerce, to streaming. Because Blockbuster was already a whole generation behind in terms of technology, a lot of their money was going towards investing in e-commerce. So by the time Netflix totally switched up the market with online streaming, Blockbuster was done. So mainly I just want to make sure you guys remember, being a hustler, you're always going to have to learn how to adapt and think of new ways to adapt to changes in your market, whether you're on top of your market or just beginning or even slowly depreciating in your market. But being a hustler is always going to have to do with how you adapt to good and bad situations and not just sitting on top once you get there.